Good morning, friends. My name is Darren St. George, and welcome to another Monday morning program with Sal St. George. If you've been with us before, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to see you. If this is your first time, welcome to the party. This is how we start each and every week, celebrating entertainment's leaders, legends, and icons, and this morning is, of course, no exception. We are heading to the Winston Link Museum at the Roanoke History Museum in Roanoke, Virginia. We are joined by Ashley Webb, the curator of the museum, who's with us now. Let's get the man of the hour on board as well. Sal, Dad, are you there? And if you have any questions for us, we'd love to hear them. Please share them in the chat, and I'll happily relay those over to Ashley and Sal. Hey, Dad. Hey, Ashley. How are
beat
you?
me out. Ashley got here first.
Yes. How are you two doing?
Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Roanoke.
It looks beautiful there. The weather looks great. Tell me, how long have you been with the museum?
So I have been with the museum in a variety of capacities since 2012. I actually grew up in Roanoke and left for about 10 years, went to college, graduate school, and then lived in Farmville, Virginia for about 5 years, and then came back to Roanoke. So I have been with the History Museum since 2012, and then the Winston Link Museum since 2017. So,
did you have any knowledge about trains before you started this?
No, I had no idea. I'm a history lover, so I have had to learn a lot about trains.
This is kind of interesting because we have a huge following, and most of them are movie aficionados. So I'm going to just throw out a little idea for everybody as you're watching the program. If you can think of any famous movie predicated on trains, feel free to throw it into our chat. And I'll start it off because the most famous one is probably The General with Buster Keaton. What do you think, Darren?
Yeah, agreed. And I think it still holds the Guinness Book World Record. I can't remember exactly how they phrase it, but it may be the most expensive single stunt ever performed with a train, or the largest, maybe by size and weight. I'm not sure, but I do believe it holds the world record there. And Tom Cruise went after it in the last Mission Impossible. He also paid homage to that. Oh, Ellen says North by Northwest.
Okay, they're already starting. All right, Ashley, we got our work cut out for us. So take us on in and let's see what you have for us.
Sure. So what I'm standing outside, right out in front of where our museum is located. So we are in the historic Norfolk and Western passenger station, which is also home of the Tourist Bureau. And so you can see where exactly we are. We are directly across the street from Hotel Roanoke. So if you've ever been to Roanoke, you'll know we were chartered in 1882, so fairly late. And it is a railroad town. So I'll walk inside. So it's a railroad town, and Norfolk and Western basically they started. Roanoke laid it out. The hotel was the first in the area, and it was, it's a luxury. We wanted to get people to come to Roanoke, and so that's how they started it. We're walking into the train station right now. So this is not original. It's 1949. And the original train station, I'll show you tracks here in a minute, but the original train station was built in 1882 on the tracks. And what we're in now is it was built in 1905 and then remodeled in 1949. So what you're seeing is a Raymond Loewy design. So Raymond Loewy was a international French. He came to America in 1918, I think, after World War I. He was a French industrial designer. And what you're seeing is the Maze of the Row sort of style from 1929-ish. So we've got the terrazzo floors, the big open space. This huge wall here that's where the ticket counter was. And the expanse. This building actually extended out over the tracks. And this is where you would come to depart your journey from Roanoke to all sorts of areas. We went up to New York, out to Norfolk. There were 4 main lines in the area. And I'll show you, we're sitting right on the tracks.
Wow.
So we're literally right on top of it. And this is a remodeled version. This passenger service ended in 1975 in this area.
So Ashley, do the trains actually still run on those tracks?
Yes, they definitely still run on these tracks. We hear them every day. Actually, I'm glad it stopped, but there was a train. Well, they were doing some construction on on the tracks, so you don't hear it anymore. But yeah, they're all hours of the day. We have 2 Amtrak lines that run out at 6 a.m. and then that comes back in at 4:30. But yeah, so the train station actually extended out over the tracks. And in the 1950s, it was a new sort of thing that Lowy had designed, was escalators that went from the top level of the train station down to the tracks so you could actually get on the trains. Unfortunately, that's no longer here. That was taken out when they remodeled the building in 1975 to make it office spaces for Norfolk and Western. Norfolk Southern took over in 1983. And then ever since then, Norfolk Southern has pulled out of Roanoke, unfortunately. But again, we still have lots of trains coming through every single day. You'll probably hear some when we go downstairs. But yeah, so it's a unique building. So what you're seeing, we're standing in the gift shop right now, and a lot of this is still original. They when they remodeled the building to build the museum, it's purpose built, and 2004 it opened. They found a lot of the terrazzo floors, the tile, a lot of the original stuff. And I should have shown you the original train schedule still on the back side. I'll show it to you when we come out. But so we're standing in the gift shop right now. And we are technically 3 museums in one. So we have the Raymond Loewy Gallery in the Raymond Loewy Design Building. We have the History Museum, the Roanoke History Museum. And then we have the Winston Link Museum, which is what we're doing today. So a little bit about Winston.
Oh, I think we found a dead spot. Ashley, just go ahead, find some better Wi-Fi, and we'll continue.
And you want to give us 2 or 3 of the chats that you have?
It's really good. It's really good.
Do it a little bit.
Yep.
Oh, she's back. Okay,
Ashley's
good.
back. I'll give you one. Murder on the Orient Express.
Is I'm going back and forth between Wi-Fi and the regular internet. So you might lose me a little bit throughout the museum because it's quite a big museum and we have to change different levels. So
how large is it, Ash?
It's probably 20,000 plus square feet.
Okay.
So it's a big museum. The upstairs is the lobby for the visitor center, and then downstairs is the entire museum. So I'm going to be taking you through the downstairs, but first I wanted to show you, we do have an artist in residence program. These are some of our previous artists in residence. His name is Brett Legoo. He's a local artist, and he during his residency, he painted objects in our collection. So we have an artist in residence pretty much every, this is the back of the building here. So all the train tracks, and then the Raymond Loewy Design Building. And then this is the front of the building. So this is just one iteration. We also are going to be having, our next year is going to be a Lego builder. I don't know if you can see, this is one of our rotating galleries that we don't have anything at the moment. We're setting up for a book sale on September 14th, but our next artist in residence, I'm trying to figure out how to show this, is going to be a Lego artist. And he created this for us. It's a recreation of an Winston Link photograph, which you'll get to see, called Rural Retreat. And so he's going to be our artist next summer, but we're going to head downstairs. So the bottom of the museum is purpose built. It was actually called Trackside. It was not open. It was not a museum. It was all open down to the tracks. But we basically have, let's see if you can see it. We have a Winston Link's caboose. And he actually acquired that. He bought that himself. He bought himself a caboose. He bought himself an engine, a locomotive, and then a hopper car, I think, or a passenger car. And so he had those 3. I know the person who owns the locomotive, unfortunately.
Oh, I think we're losing her on the stairs.
Yeah.
But Pop, we just got from Nanette, we got some information. Keaton used 6 cameras on the train wreck scene in the General, which began 4 hours late and required several lengthy runs. The train wreck of the Texas cost $42,000, the most expensive single shot in silent film history.
Okay,
This one,
Ashley, back.
There we go. Hi, Ashley.
sorry. Again, I'm probably moving again and off of Wi-Fi and onto our.
That's okay. I think it was the
sorry.
stairwell. The stairwell made the swap. But go ahead. What do we have behind you?
So this is a S1A switcher. This is probably one of Link's most complicated images because this was not taken in one single shot. So this is several shots that he had to Photoshop together, and I can show you the original for this. But it is just a huge image, and we've got some of the workers on the line as well.
Ashley, before we go any further, can you give us a bullet point story about who Link actually was and his significance with the trains?
Yeah, so he's a 1950s train photographer, and he's always loved trains. He died in 2001, but he always loved trains. He grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and from a very, very early age, he started tinkering with photography. He's a self-taught photographer, pretty much. He studied civil engineering in college. He went to the Brooklyn Institute in New York, and he got out of school during the Depression. And so when he studied civil engineering, there was not a lot of jobs available for him. So he took a position with a commercial photography firm by Carl Bayer and Associates. And so that's kind of how he got started in photography. He was known for a lot of technical photography. And so with his PR expertise, he started creating these really interesting advertisements. And a lot of them, unfortunately, I'll show you one of them in our galleries, but unfortunately they have not really stood the test of time because they're very complicated and you have to really know what you're looking at. So from there, he would try and figure out where he could go photograph trains. And so in the 1940s, he was living in Louisiana where he met his wife, his first wife. And he started playing around with using flashes and taking nighttime train pictures. And so basically what he did was started this whole genre. He knew he wanted to take photographs of trains at nighttime. He just didn't know how. And so in 1950s in Roanoke, Norfolk and Western was the last railroad to use steam power. He loved steam trains and the romance of them, the mechanical aspects of them, and the sounds and everything. So he made it his mission to document the last of the steam trains. And so from 1955 to 1960 is when he started his project. And it's called the Norfolk and Western Project. So he basically, on his own money, he traveled to Virginia from New York and along the Shenandoah Valley and documented the people, the places, the trains, all throughout this area and the last of steam.
Okay, I don't want to jump ahead of you, but I know many people don't even know what kind of cameras they were using at that time. And did he develop his own film? What was his process to get these photographs done?
Yeah, so he used 4x5 film. So these are all negatives, larger negatives. And he developed his own film. So he would get one shot, basically. So he would set up all these cameras. He would talk to the individuals, get their names. He has notebooks. We have all of his notebooks about how he set everything up. And he would basically travel to these places, scope it out. This is actually one of the presidents of
Yeah, can you close in, get a little bit closer?
He would scope it out and then set it all up.
Yeah, can you get a little closer to the photographs? There you go.
This is actually his first shot that he ever took. It's in Waynesboro, Virginia, and this is actually what started the project. So he old school. They were using outdated technology for a lot of stuff. He would, again, set up his cameras. He had two graphic view cameras, which I can show you.
Oh, before you leave, can you get a closer look at that big picture that was behind you? That one right there. There you go.
It's just unbelievable to think that those are the machines they're working on and utilizing. Incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing that he loved. He loves showing the scale of these locomotives. So the gallery we're in right now is all about the people that worked on the line. So the people who manned the switcher stations, the people who worked on the train tracks, who worked on the locomotives.
And did you say he only took one photograph?
Yes. He tried to. So he worked with the railroad to take these photographs. So the railroad was completely willing to stop trains for him. He worked with the PR people. They loved the idea of this project. And to document all of steam. Again, Norfolk and Western, by this time, they were the last ones to have trains. And so everything was moving to diesel. So they wanted him to capture all of these steam trains. So moving into the next gallery, these are more of his iconic pieces. He took over 2,200 negatives. We're the repository for all the negatives. And
Ashley, I want to cut in for 1 sec. Let's just give you a moment to catch up. You froze on a still of one of his images, so I just want to wait a moment until there we go. And I think we're caught back up.
Sorry.
There we go.
So we are the repository for all of his negatives. He took over 2,200 negatives during this project in the 5-year period. He made 17 trips down to down the Shenandoah into Virginia. So he mainly he's based in, there's 4 different routes. There's the Shenandoah line, the Radford line, the Bristol line, the Radford line, the Bristol line, Pocahontas line, and the Norfolk line. So he did most of his work on the Shenandoah and then the Abingdon branch, which Abingdon branch was off the Radford.
All right, so Ashley, I think we're going to have to go to a different hall, a different section of the museum. This one, it is just a little too choppy. Yeah. So we can hear you, but it's breaking up a bit, and that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's again, we're down in like the bowels of the museum. It's we're in the basement, basically. So,
yeah. I think we're gonna have to go back up then, if that's the case. It's kind of breaking up, here and there. It's a bit challenging. But while you relocate, Pop, do you want to show those pictures of the steam locomotive you visited here on Long Island?
As she's moving up, yeah, sure, why not?
All right.
We knew we were coming to be on a steam locomotive, and here on Long Island in New York, there it is, live steamers, and they're in their 58th year, and these are monstrous trains. You want to show it? It's not great quality, but at least you'll see what it looks like.
Absolutely. Brace yourselves. Here we go. Woohoo!
Link would have loved that.
Feel the rush.
Okay,
but it is using the same technology, just on a much smaller scale.
Yeah. Okay, how are we doing, Ashley?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, that sounds good. It looks good. Thank you. Great.
Yeah. So unfortunately, the entire museum is downstairs. So I'm going to have to just hang out for a little bit on this one. I can tell you more about it. But so Link, he photographed for about 5 years on this project. And what he was most entranced by was how the locomotives faded into the background. It became a normal part of everyday life. So he was really interested in capturing just the humanity of this area, the rural areas of Virginia, of America, this just disappearing aspect of life. And so what he did then was capture images like this one. This is called Sometimes Electricity Fails. And by this point, there were electric gas pumps, but Link loved the romance of still maintaining this outdated technology. With the train in the background, most of the time he had his own Buick convertible in a lot of the shots. This is his own convertible, and then of course you capture the train in the background, and that's what it was. The train. He didn't want the train to fade into the background. He wanted it to become this aspect of just everyday life and the reliance these people had on the trains. And so in 1960, the diesel trains took over, and the end of the steam era as we know it happened. And so, of course, he was a big proponent of trying to keep steam alive. And so when he was not a known photographer. He was not discovered until 1983. And that was basically, and I can show you, I don't know if you can see him over there. I'll go closer. But that's the area that we might get lost. But so he was not a known photographer. And in 1983, he created an exhibition at the Chrysler Museum of Art in Norfolk, and was discovered by the Museum of Modern Art curator in New York. And that's how it sort of set off his career. Now he created, like I said, over 2,200 negatives, and we are the repository for all of those. There's we actually have the original Vesuvius gas pump in our collection. And so from 1983, he then started creating more works, becoming more popular. He has works in a lot of different collections across the world. We receive probably majority of our visitors are international. We have probably about 5,000 to 8,000 visitors a year. So we're trying to keep the steam era alive and his photographs alive here down in Roanoke.
So when he was taking these photographs during his heyday in the early years, approximately how old was he?
So he started photographing, let's see, he was probably in his 30s, late 30s.
So he was outside all night waiting for the train to come by to get that one shot?
Yes, yeah. And so, yes, he would pack up his Buick with all of his supplies. He created his own power supply pack, battery supply pack to run his flashes. And unfortunately, I can't show you them. We have his cameras, his graphic view cameras, 4x5. They're very large. He would put them on tripods. And set up the shot, set up all his flash units, and then he would take a picture during the day and test it out, and then he would wait. And he would sometimes he would go even the night before and track what trains came by when to figure out which trains to actually photograph. So it was a mix of both diesel and steam. At this time, you'd have freight locomotives going through, you would have passenger trains going through. And so he would time it out, figure out what time, because it was on like a schedule, on a schedule. So he would figure out what the best train to photograph was, talk with the railroad, figure out how he wanted to set up his flash units, set all that up during the day, take his test shot, and then go through and wait and take his shot at night. He had one chance. He had one chance to get these photographs. And so later on, he would go back to New York to develop all his film. And in many cases, his photographs did not turn out. So he would make his next trip down. And again, he only came through the area 17 times over a 5-year period. And he started bringing a trailer with him. And so in that trailer, he would then develop his negatives to decide whether or not was a good shot. And then sometimes he would take multiple shots. If that one was not a good one, then he would take another shot. Yeah. So eventually he did capture a good chunk of the steam trains running through this area.
Ashley, I don't want to put you in an awkward position. Are those cameras nearby you?
Yeah. We can see if we can see if it'll work.
Yeah, I would love to see the cameras. I know it's tricky for you.
Let's give it a shot. While you're making your way back downstairs to the basement, we'll keep an eye, make sure the Wi-Fi holds out. But Nanette, she's our resident educator today, it seems. She has put in some new stats for us, and she says that most steam engines weighed around 400 tons. Does that sound about right to you, Ashley?
Oh gosh, I have no idea.
Around 400 tons. So to put it in perspective, a car can weigh a ton, and an adult elephant weighs between 2 and 6 tons. So a steam locomotive, 400 tons. And let's get back to it. Are those his cameras?
These are 2 of his cameras. So in many cases, he would take, there was one section, I'm trying to get a good shot and it's difficult. So in many cases,
but we can't hear you now.
Oh no.
There we go. Now we can.
Okay.
Maybe where you're putting your hand.
Yeah. So he would basically set up 2 cameras. And so he had a color camera on the Abingdon branch line, and then he'd have his black and white camera. I'm going to turn around and see if hopefully this will work. So this is actually a good example here of how he would set.
Oh. Almost made it.
Oh, that's funny.
I put her in an awkward position.
It's difficult. I know. We did freeze, Ashley. I don't know if your audio can still hear us, but it did freeze. We see about half of the image. Yes, there we go. We're back.
If we can see the cameras, if you can show us the cameras.
So he would set up 2 cameras, sometimes one color, sometimes one black and white. Then he would set up a camera usually behind him and take it like almost a selfie of himself taking a photograph. And so in one of our galleries, I'm really sad that you're not going to be able to see it. I have exactly how he set up the images, but these are his cameras. These are 2 of his cameras. They are 4x5 graphic view cameras, and so you would have 4x5 film. And if any of you are familiar with film cameras, you would have to basically do everything in the dark. And so when he was setting up a lot of his shots, he also did not know exactly where the train was going to be. And so he would basically just take a guess and hope he got it right to photograph it.
Incredible.
Hopefully you can see that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can we see that big picture over your shoulder? That one right there.
So this is Hot Shot Eastbound. This is one of his more, I'm going to see if I can try and get closer without losing you. This is one of his most famous ones. It's of the drive-through in Yeager, West Virginia. And it has 5 modes of transportation in it, supposedly. You've got your car, you've got your airplane. They were watching Battle Taxi, which is a Korean War film in Yeager at that night. And you got the train, there's a bike in the picture. And then supposedly, I have never found the 5th one, but supposedly it's someone walking. But
Ashley, if I could take over the screen for a moment, I wonder if this is the image you were trying to show us before when it froze. Is this it? His setup? Yes, that's correct. Yep. So can you talk us through what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this is in Luray, Virginia. It's called Hawksbill Creek. And so what you see here is Link setting up. He's got his 2 cameras. You've got this one actually, I think, is one where one of his flashes failed. So you don't see the train at the top of the image. But you've got his 2 cameras where he has set up where you see the light, all the light shining is where he has set up his flashes.
Is this a train up here?
It is a train. Yep.
Oh my goodness. And it failed. Wow.
And so we have we have another one of this, basically the same time span. I think he had to come back and re-photograph that one a little bit later because it's different people in the image, different things happening, but where the train is actually illuminated. So I think the flash failed in this one, and it didn't happen often, but it did happen. So
you can also see the extension cords that he has running to his equipment underneath here.
Yeah, he would have
he had his own battery pack.
Yeah, he would have miles of cable. He would have his own battery pack. And the reason he made his own battery pack is because in one town he would have to rely on other people for electricity, and this one woman charged him $1 a minute for electricity. And so sometimes she would leave, and she would take the converter with her. And so he got tired of trying to work around her schedule, and so he made his own battery pack. And I don't know, hopefully you'll be able to see it. There's his own battery pack. I'm trying not to move too much, that way you can
no, you're doing great.
We can see it. We have a great question here from Jeff. He wondered who took the photo of Link taking the photo.
Yeah, so he always had an assistant with him. So it was either so his different assistants were George Tom, Dave Plowden, who is a well-known railroad photographer now. He's still alive. Tom Garver, who unfortunately just passed away, or Corky Zider. Corky Zider was his nephew. So he would always bring an assistant with him to photograph, and they were in charge of helping him get set up, taking different shots of him while he's out on the field. He also did recordings. So we have a lot of steam recordings of things that were going on in the background. And so they would also help him capture those too.
How did you acquire all of this?
So Link passed in 2001, but before he passed away, he loved Roanoke. It was a huge hub for Norfolk and Western. They actually had their headquarters based in Roanoke from 1882 to 2015 or so, I think, before they moved to Norfolk and then down to Atlanta. And so he was in works with several individuals here in the Roanoke area. He wanted the museum to be here in Roanoke. He wanted it to be in this train station. And so the city gave the train station to a nonprofit here in Roanoke, and he was in charge of trying to get a locomotive here. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. It's just down the street at the Virginia Museum of Transportation. But he never, unfortunately, saw the museum come to fruition. The museum opened in 2004. He died in 2001. And so basically from his initial talks with individuals, the trust continued with creating this museum, and the trust sold the majority of his works to the nonprofit that started the museum. And so we have a good number of prints. We have all the negatives. We have some of his commercial negatives. Some people in the trust still have some of those, but we are not allowed to print new photographs from the negatives. Link was very particular about how his images were created. And so what's out there is what's out there. We can't create anymore.
So if he's such a technical, if he's such a technical photographer and assuming technically gifted in development of film, I can imagine he wants to take that to maintain that control over the image.
Yes, yeah. And so a lot of the works we have are signed. Some of them are not because they're test shots, or he created them later. He had one woman in the 1990s and right after he passed away that he trusted to create the images. So we have a number of her images. Unfortunately, so Link, I didn't go into this at all, but he had a very difficult end of his life. So he married in 1947 to a woman who was an actress, Martial Oglesby. And they divorced pretty soon after they married, I think 1950, 51, around there. And so then he stayed single for a while. And then he remarried a woman named Conchita in 1983, I believe, 1982, 1983. And Conchita, she was 20 years younger than him and started convincing people that he had Alzheimer's. And she would supposedly lock him in the basement and remove the handrails so he couldn't get out because his mobility was on the decline at this point in time, and make him create prints. She would then try, convince all the gallery owners that he was not in his right mind. She started stealing his cameras. She sold some prints. He had enough foresight to hide all the negatives, and they got divorced in 1992. But there was a huge legal battle. She was convicted and put in jail in 1996 for stealing over probably about 1.5 million. In the 1990s, $1.5 million worth of his work. So she was released in 2001. And then in 2003, a lot of the stuff that she had stolen, she then started selling it on eBay. And so she was found out. She had an affair while she was still married to Link, and he was in on it as well. And so both of them were put in jail. She served a 20-year sentence, and I think she's out now. But so he did not have a happy end in his marriage. But
Before photography, did he have another career?
No. So he, right as soon as he got out of college, I take that back. During World War II, so he worked with Carl Bayer and Associates to do PR photography. And then during World War II, he went and worked with a secret laboratory in New York, Long Island.
I'm sorry, did you say a secret laboratory?
Yes, they were trying to, there's not a lot of stuff that's known about this lab, but they were trying to figure out how to capture submarines via air travel or something. I don't really know exactly what it was, but we do have a few images that he took of like nighttime planes taking off a runway. And that's kind of how he started working on this, capturing fast moving objects at nighttime. So that's where he got one of those skills, but we don't know a lot about what he did there or what was happening at that lab during that time. So he could not serve. I think he had a hearing problem. So he could not be in the military. So he started working at this lab as his way of trying to serve and help out the war effort. And then as soon as that was done, he started working back at a PR firm. He worked for a number of other PR firms, and he created his own PR business, photography business, and worked with like Texaco, the Verrazano Bridge in New York. He photographed a lot of really big name companies to help fund this project. And he continued commercial photography throughout the rest of his life.
His affinity towards black and white is really amazing because it gives you a film noir type of feel when you're looking at these photographs. They all have stories to them.
Yes. And he did not take a lot of color film because in the 1950s, it was still sort of a newer format. And so he took color film only on one of the lines. There's only 2 nighttime color photographs that I know of. There could be a few more, but of trains. And then it's called the Abingdon branch line. It did not have a night train. So that's why he ended up taking daytime photos and color photographs of those images, because there was not an opportunity to take the night shots. And so all of the color images we have are of that particular line. So
Ashley, if you want to try to find another safe Wi-Fi space, I just wanted to mention something that you had said is that he was taking nighttime photography of fast-moving objects. And it's really worth noting, if any of the viewers, if you haven't played with cameras and taking manual photographs, it's an incredible challenge to take a photo of a fast-moving object in the daytime with optimal lighting situations, because the faster an object is moving, the faster your camera shutter speed has to be, and it takes away all of the light coming into the camera. So
I think it's sports photographers.
Exactly. Yeah. Sports photographer. You can see what's demanded of them, and that they have stadium lights helping them. So to take a photo of a black locomotive moving at however many miles per hour at night, it really is such a demanding proposition.
And I would think, Darren, that, and Ashley can confirm this, if he's out there all night waiting for one train to come by, he must have stayed overnight like a camper. He must have stayed out in the middle of nowhere waiting for morning to pack everything up.
Yeah, and she mentioned that he would come sometimes the night before to understand when he could expect the train, but it's no guarantee. Heck, we don't even have guarantees with our Long Island Railroad nowadays, let
Yeah.
alone in the 1950s. All right, Ashley, you're back. Hello.
Very good. The other thing I did want to mention, and because he had such an affinity for black and white, he also felt like during the daytime, um, color photography, you couldn't really obscure a lot of the details, the ugly details, things that you wanted to hide. So like you couldn't move the sun. It was a black train, the blue sky, the white sky, or whatever. So he felt like, why would I use color if I'm just gonna be shooting the same thing? And I can this way with nighttime, I can manipulate the light to then show only what I want to show. So
I love that. That's wonderful. I mean, it really is a daunting idea to say, oh, I'll just make my own sun.
Ashley, this is a very specific type of photography. Did he have competitors? Did people try to steal what he was doing?
no, not at this time. Although Link was very protective over his techniques. He did not like he had with his assistants, he would not really let them know about what he was planning or how he was setting things up. So he was very, very protective at the time because he didn't want anybody stealing his ideas. I don't think anybody else could have done the same thing he did
No.
at the time, but yes, no, he did not. He did not take too kindly to that kind of stuff. He was very, very crotchety, especially as he got older. And yeah, so there was not really a lot of people at this time. He was kind of the start of this genre. And it's still a huge influence today. There's so many individuals who are doing this sort of stuff and take inspiration from him even today.
I love the idea. You said that the railroad was enthusiastic and supportive of his efforts because he's a photographer and using it as PR. But nowadays we have Instagram and TikTok influencers, and I couldn't imagine any railroad being like, yes, let's stop a train for TikTok.
Right. Yeah. And one really cool thing about Link was he was very meticulous. He was very detailed. He kept all of the letters that he wrote to individuals saying, hey, I want to create this shot. We actually have one image, it's not in the galleries, but we have one image where he's actually talking on the phone to the conductor of the train, being like, okay, well, what time are you going to be here? I'm going to go ahead. Can you stop it at this point? So that way he could more control the image. But yeah, he had full cooperation with Norfolk and Western at the time. So
Ashley, Hitchcock is famous for doing storyboards of his movies. Did Link do that? Did he do a sketch of what he was looking to capture?
He did. Unfortunately, I'd have to go back into the other gallery and potentially lose you. But we do have. He had about 15 notebooks. And he would include, every single little detail. He would create maps of how he wanted to set up the image, where all of his lights were going to go, the feet in between for cordage for the lights, where he wanted his camera to be set up, the battery packs, all of that. He would keep records of where he went to lunch, how much it cost, where he stayed. So we can create a pretty detailed outline of each individual trip. In addition to the letters, the dates, the negative numbers. So he kept track of each individual negative number. So then he could identify where they were later along the line. So he created very, very detailed maps and layouts of how he set up each individual image.
Can you try to get us into that space? We'll keep our fingers crossed and we'll see if we can make it. And
Ashley, if you're going to cast a movie, who would you want to portray Link?
Ooh. Oh gosh, I have no idea. I have no idea. So I had to tell you, he is in October Sky.
He's in October Sky?
October Sky. So if you look at rewatch October Sky, there is an area where they're on the train tracks and they're trying to pull up the railroad ties, And then a train comes by. They get, really panicked because they're pulling up the railroad ties, and then they move like one of the they move something. Yes, that's him. And so the train comes by, and Link is actually sitting in the train. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I have no idea who I would want to play him. I honestly have no idea. All right, so I am standing in front of one of the images. Okay, perfect. So this is one of his notebooks, an image from one of his notebooks. I don't know if you can see it very well. You can probably see my screen more than anything, but you've got his camera here, the field of view. And this is for the Grottoes Fire Department, which is...
Oh, there we go. Yeah, we lost audio. But Cynthia is in the chat and saying that she's only a few hours away from the museum and is looking forward to making her own visit there. That's great. Pop, I think I know who I want to cast.
That's what we're here for, Darren, to influence people to visit and support these museums.
Absolutely. And I think I know who I want to cast, Pop. I don't know his name, but he is from Shawshank Redemption. He was in the original seasons of Walking Dead. He was an older gentleman, always wore a hat on top of the RV.
But he was a little too old for that part. You need somebody that's young to do these the scenes when he's out there camping.
That's true. I'm thinking of the image I just looked at in October Sky, but you're right.
Yeah, maybe a Matt Damon.
Oh, there you go. Although I'm not a big fan of his. So hi, Ashley. Welcome back.
There's little corners and you can't. It's so annoying. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Darren, did we get any more names of movies?
We have lots, films. So let's see here. Murder on the Orient Express, absolutely. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, naturally. The Great Train Robbery.
Oh wow, silent film, nice.
Yep, 1903. Runaway Train. Silver Streak.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I threw in
Gene Wilder. Yeah.
I threw in there. It's not integral to it's not the most important thing about the movie, but big set piece is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah. Yeah, they use the train quite often in that movie.
They do, and I just love that line where the man is trying to protect the train and they're trying to plead with him that it's not worth getting blown up over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say all of these images are online in our digital collection. So if you have an interest and you can't visit, you can go to our website and into our digital collection, look up Winston Link, and a lot of his photographs will come up. The notebooks are not on there, but or the letters, but the images certainly are. So
also, Ashley, Doug Minard sent me this book. Okay,
yeah. We have there's 4 different books. Or 3 different books, I think, of Winston Link's work, Steam, Steel, and Stars. That is his first book. It was written in 1987. And actually, we are going to have Tim Hensley, who is the author of that book, here tomorrow night. He is going to be speaking on his experiences working with Link to set up that book. And so that Steam, Steel, and Stars is one of them. Then there's The Last Steam Railroad in America. Both of those are out of print, so you're going to have to buy a used copy, unfortunately, online. And then there's Life Along the Line, which we actually just reprinted. That's a 2012 book. So I just saw is that a hybrid event for Tim Hensley? Unfortunately, we are we're a little bit behind the times, and it is not going to be a hybrid event. We are going to videotape it, and it'll be on online later, on YouTube later, just not tomorrow night, unfortunately. But it will be online at some point. But yeah, if you're in the area and you want to make a trip down, it's $5 to get in, free for members, and then it'll be, of course, be free online in the future. So
Ashley, I want to show you one of my favorite Link pictures, and maybe you can comment on it if I can get it here. Where is it?
Yeah, that's actually in is that Vesuvius or Green Cove? I think that's Green Cove. So that is called Egg Stove and Bananas. And one of the things that Link really, really loved was that the train station was often the Western Union telegram station. It was also your general store, especially for these rural areas. it acted as a one-stop shop. So you would wait for your train, you could get your goods from there. And that, essentially when steam railroading ended, you lost a lot of those rural places. You lost a lot of those, that connection, because that was.
Oh, thank you, Darren.
Yeah, there you go. Egg, stove, and bananas. That's where you met everybody. That's where you got all the gossip. That's where you got your train into town. So unfortunately.
What I like about it is that the train, although it's the main character, is in the background. You have to look for it.
Yep.
Wow. There's so much to appreciate.
And what I said earlier, these pictures, you could write a story just on the photo.
Yeah. And they're absolutely fantastic. And he would, so none of these, a lot of these were staged. So Link, you would think that they're not staged, but a lot of them are. He would position people very specifically in how he wanted them positioned, especially at the nighttime shots, and how the lights are positioned. And he left nothing to chance. He wanted it very specific, and he would pull in people to be a part of the picture, to give it more humanity. That way it wasn't just about the train. The train's the most important part, obviously, but it wasn't just about the train.
You're saying about how specific he was about setting up these shots, and this gentleman down in the right corner, the light that Link is hitting him, 2 inches, and this guy is in darkness.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that he captures his left eye in the light before it fades to shadow. Really impressive.
And the other thing he really wanted to do was capture the full depth of focus, which again, with something like Hot Shot Eastbound, you have, the person in the foreground, which is that's the one where there's all the drive-in movie theater. You have all the people in the foreground and all the cars and in focus. Then you have the screen in focus. And I'll turn around. Hopefully you can get to it, see it still. So you have the car in the foreground in focus, you have all the cars in the background in focus, and then you have the train in focus as well. Now, with that one in particular, he couldn't capture the screen, the movie screen at the same time. So he basically had to photograph the background and then go back and take several shots of just the movie screen. And then he had to cut and glue the movie screen onto the negative, or not the negative, onto a contact print to create a new negative. But so he wanted every single bit in focus. And I think for something that is, 120 feet in depth, that is also extremely technically challenging.
Absolutely.
I was just thinking, sadly, you must have quite a few school children coming through.
We don't.
You don't? Wow.
No, a lot of people here in Roanoke don't know we exist. So
because they wouldn't even know what a drive-in movie is. They wouldn't even know what a camera is.
Yeah.
All the more reason they should be there.
Yeah, and we're working on it. Again, I'm the only full-time employee. We have a part-time educator that we're trying to get more field trips in. It's been difficult. We went through a very rough patch in 2017, and then again with COVID. So we're slowly making our way back, but.
Okay.
Wow. Well,
worth it. Well worth the visit.
Absolutely. Let me take a moment and show people how they can stay in touch and plan their visit to support the museum. You can head over to roanokehistory.org. I'll drop that into the chat right now. There you go. This is where you can learn all about the 3 museums available. Today, we were really just focusing on Link himself, but there is so much information for you to enjoy. They have upcoming events, as we've said. Here we go, how he mapped his photos. Coming up, let's see here. This is it, August 27th, working with Link on the book. So if you are nearby, it's going to be worthwhile visiting, and we'll also keep an eye on the museum to see when it goes up on YouTube so we can all watch. They also have an online shop where you can get some of the prints.
Those
Yeah.
documentaries are really interesting too, Darren,
Yep. Oh,
that they have on their website.
here, I just want to see here, swimming at the pool. Wow. And they have books, of course. I believe the book you were just showing off, Pop.
Yeah.
Is this it? The Man in the Museum?
No, so that one's
No.
just about the creation of the museum.
Oh,
Again,
okay.
they're out of print, so we have to get them even secondhand. So we only have those in our museum store, but you can find them online. So
Okay.
just not their own.
And you can also follow along in the museum at Winston Link Museum on Instagram. So be sure to follow them for all the latest of what's going on. Kids on the Caboose. You can follow Celebrity Museums. We're also on Instagram, of course. We're on Facebook. We're on live on Facebook right now. Hello, everybody. We're on YouTube, which is where you'll find the recording of this video shortly. And we're on X nearly every day. And let's see here. Yep, we're looking forward to today's program. And what are we looking at here, Pop? Gene Kelly?
Yeah. Well, imagine driving in your car and this one pulls up alongside of you.
Wow. Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly.
Cary Grant.
Wow. All right. Not too shabby. Sign up for all of our programs at celebritymuseums.com. We have Sitcom Working Women. This was a wonderful program. This is a part 2, essentially, with Judy. She was with us before, and I'm looking forward to that. We're talking about everything from Eve Arden in Our Miss Brooks to Abbott Elementary. We also have The Twilight Zone coming up later next month, and the Volo Museum, which is sure to be a lot of fun. But as for right now, Ashley, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a wonderful program.
Thank you. And thanks for bearing with me through all the technical challenges. I had no idea that our internet was so spotty.
That's okay. We go through it quite often because museums were not made for Zoom.
I get that. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. And again, we're in Roanoke. Come visit. And we hope to see you soon.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much.
You made a great impression on the folks. They really enjoyed your talk.
Thank you. Thank you. And have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye, everybody.